The SiningSaysay, or Philippine History and Art, is a joint project of the University of the Philippines, the UP Alumni Association, and the Araneta Coliseum. The University of the Philippines, the country's national university, supports projects like this SiningSaysay. This project highlights Philippine history and culture, telling the story of our people through 30 magnificent large-scale paintings created by our respected and highly recognized UP artists. These works that tell the story of us, the Filipino nation, narrated visually. The SiningSaysay is an innovative way of teaching history, promoting art appreciation, understanding Filipino identity, and imbibing cultural pride, all constituting valuable aspects of teaching and public service, which the University of the Philippines is mandated to do. The paintings are going to be housed in a venue where our fellow Filipinos, particularly students, as well as visitors from all over the world, can have a view and be part of this cultural and historical experience in a single venue that is bound to become an important cultural hub. Our artists, together with the project team, have gone through a tremendous amount of research and creative and historical studies to be true to the process of capturing history in art. We take pride in offering and presenting the significant project SiningSaysay in praise of the Filipino.
Aside from the historical significance of this project, I'd like to point out how fortunate I am because at the time that this project was being conceptualized, I happened to be part of it already, being the UPAA president in 2008. And now that it's about to be unveiled, I'm also president of the University of the Philippines Alumni Association. So by all indications, it's a go. And I'll be, in a way, reaping the fruits that were sown earlier by past presidents Gary Tionco, Gladys Tionco, and Alfredo Pascual, who is now president of the university. While their fee may be meager, the consequences of the rewards that will accrue to them would be very substantial because a lot of students, Filipinos, foreign tourists would be viewing these exhibits, and that in itself would perpetuate what they have done. And this is very rewarding, I would imagine. We're all proud that it will finally happen.
The project was initially discussed in 2010, and it was the UP Alumni Association, who was then headed by Gary Tionco, who proposed the idea to the University of the Philippines. From the moment that he described it, I already felt very excited about the project. The project is about featuring Philippine history in art, and he enumerated to me the artists who would be involved, and I felt very excited, especially knowing that this will be exhibited at the Coliseum, where a lot of people go to for special events. So he also told me that he had already communicated with George Araneta, who also was immediately interested in the project. And so immediately there was a meeting of the minds. We agreed to sit down to discuss the general ideas about the project. So having agreed in principle to pursue the project, the papers were drawn, the details were discussed, and towards the end of my term, and as President Pascual was coming in, I think we finalized the document. Yeah, I was very excited because first, it's a first in the country. Second, really good artists are going to be involved and will put their heads together to tell us the story about our country. We all read about the history of the Philippines in books and it takes time. But if you see it in art, immediately you will have an idea of what our country is all about. So I thought it was a unique idea, and that's what excited me about it.
In the year 2008, it was the centennial year of the University of the Philippines. And I happen to be the president of UPAA. We have sort of an agreement with Emeroman that UP Systems would take care of the serious production for, and that the UPAA would be more on the frivolous. Like we were producing, as part of the celebration, the 100 years of comics, we called it Ciento Comico, and then we gathered all the artists, the visual artists. So we had 100 years of nude paintings from different batches of UP College of Fine Arts and Architectural graduates. So one of the participants, after that successful exhibition, and wherein we also produced as a memorabilia a yearbook, I had a talk with one of the artists, Mr. Castro, who was then a retired professor of UP. He was doing some paintings, the Battle of Mactan, the Battle of Tirad Pass, and the Battle of Manila Bay. It was a very interesting historical painting. And I also sort of improved on the idea that we could actually ask the artists to produce the historical paintings dating back to the founding of the Philippines up to the present. So with that germ of idea, we developed it into the SiningSaysay. The Aranetas were very supportive of the UPAA and UP in the celebration of the centennial year. As a matter of fact, we housed the exhibition of the 100 nudes in the Araneta Center. And also, we thought that we could bring the artists, the UP talents, to cater to the mass, because Cubao then was a center of the ordinary people. So we had the exhibition there. We held also the reunion there, and we had several nude paintings. So it was very natural for us to ask the Aranetas, if they could support the project, and they did. We envisioned the concept to be a come-on for students, that you would learn the history of the Philippines in half a day by just going around. Not only that, by just going around the museum, but then it is given to you in the form of an art from the senior artists, alumni artists of the University of the Philippines. So it is not only of historical value, but it is also of artistic value. We also envision this to be a tourist attraction, because not every country has conceived of this idea that when a tourist comes to the Philippines, he can immediately learn the history of the Philippines by going through these art pieces. So that is how we envisioned it. We conceived this in 2008, and the idea was further developed, and into and refined into this kind of presentation, the SiningSaysay. And we were lucky. We got the cooperation of Emeruman, and then the President Pascual. Not only that, but the succeeding presidents of the UPAA also liked the idea, adopted it, and developed it further into what it is now.
The term of the UPAA in the years 2009 to 2012 decided to continue with the SiningSaysay project. Then President of the UPAA, Alfredo Pascual, decided that it was a good project and that UPAA should continue with this project. After Fred Pascual became president of the University of the Philippines, I became president of UPAA, and I also thought that this project is worth continuing, so we decided to continue with this SiningSaysay project. This project will showcase the talents of the veterans, artists who graduated from the University of the Philippines, and it will be open to the public, and this will give the masa, the greater Filipino audience, a chance to see what our UP artists can produce, can create, can present to the Filipino people. We signed a memorandum of agreement with the University of the Philippines, the UPAA, the Araneta Coliseum or Araneta Center, and the UP artists. Then President Emerlinda Roman signed the contract, and it was witnessed by then incoming President Alfredo Pascual. The UPAA was represented by myself, Gladys, and witnessed by the one who gave this concept, Gary Tionco.
Well, the significance really is manifold, no? For one, it gives an opportunity for the UP alumni artists to engage in not only a worthwhile endeavor or project, but it's something that that will really be known for the rest of a lot of generations to come, no? Being a historical project. No? Number two is also that it is also a way of showcasing their talents. And being honed in the university, it's only proper that they give back something to their alma mater. And I guess they are doing this, or I think I can safely assume that all the participants readily agreed to this project, not only because they can give back something to the university, but more importantly to the country as well. So I guess also rewarding on my part because I've learned the intricacies of having to deal with not just one artist, but several. No? Now there is really a truism that it's kind of difficult to work with artists, no? Especially with 29 other artists. And you know, I've learned to live with all these challenges, bearing in mind that what is paramount really is the completion of the whole endeavor. But, otherwise, I think all is well that ends well, as the saying goes, and all things considered, I think it's a very, very rewarding project.
SiningSaysay is definitely a unique and ambitious project for the university and for the UP Alumni Association and our partner, the Araneta Center. Unique because of the participation of UP artists, alumni artists, selected alumni artists, that range from the young artists to the more senior artists. We have a national artist participating in this project. And so the wide range of art that we are talking about in SiningSaysay is definitely unique. No? Ambitious because to collect that kind of talent that the university has produced through the years is definitely one for the books. This is one project wherein we retell the story of the nation, and not just in text but in visual form. No? What you will see in this project is a artist, visual artist, not just functioning as visual image makers, no, but as historians themselves. These are the dual disciplines now of history and art merged together in the 30 artists that we have commissioned to participate in this exhibit. So we start from peopling the Philippines, the prehistoric, the pre-Hispanic, and then the Hispanization, the Americanization, the Japanese invasion, and to the time that we became a republic in 1946 up to now. That is the range that you will see in visual form. This is the Philippine history. Here is artists are historians. The immense time. Oh wow! You can just, when we visited our these artists as they prepared their big paintings, you cannot imagine the kind of preparation, the kind of experience that they went through. No? They love history. No? And so you see here a fresh narrative, a fresh retelling of history from a very particular point of view. And this is the artist's point of view. You will be amazed at the kind of understanding, the kind of appreciation they have for Philippine history. And I think that kind of interest should rub on to our youth. It's not just a fossilized thing, no. History is alive.
This is Philippine history depicted in paintings, and I think because history is usually an interpretation of the past, this is the artist's interpretation of the past, and particularly the past of the Philippines. Because history is a narrative, basically, so it will document the birth of a nation from the pre-Hispanic period up to the contemporary period. And I'm very happy to have worked with the artists. They have done their homework. They were constrained to read Philippine history books so as to make and render their paintings credible and truthful to our histories, to our nation's history. It becomes an interpretation which bombards all the senses. Unlike when you read a book, it just stimulates your eyes. But here you have not only the visual, but I think even the texture of Philippine history will be felt because the paintings are not flat. There's a lot of movement, and there's a lot of, I think the movement there is very important, and I see that the artist really, put energy and pains to make it not flat. It's not a flat rendering, in other words, of our history, but very, very rich. And I really commend the artists to have participated in this project because you see a different kind of Philippine history. It's different, a different reading of Philippine history, literally. Basically, history is chronological. You cannot escape that.
But in this particular project, it is faithful to the chronology of our country's history, but at the same time, it also tries to tie things through the thematic paintings. And I think it's not only the history of the elite, but also the common people. Because I see in the paintings not only the Filipino leaders, whether the Spanish or American or contemporary period, but it's basically people. The Filipino people is there, and of course, women. I mean, women should not be excluded. They're part of the historical narrative. And one thematic painting was totally dedicated to women. So I think it's so representative of the Filipino people. It's not only elite, but the total Filipino is there. It will be very different from reading a history book, because I think this is no longer a political kind of history, which is generally what textbooks and history books on the Philippines are about, but more of social history, I think, because people are put in center stage rather than just leaders. So I think they will feel that they will be part of this historical narrative. They can identify with the early Filipino, the propagandists, Andres Bonifacio, up to the presidents of the post-war. So I think it will be a different experience for the viewer. It's really a unique project. It has never been done in any country. I think it's only here in the Philippines that its history is depicted in painting. So it's an achievement, and probably an achievement of the University of the Philippines to have, put together all these artists, and for these artists to give it time and their energy and their talent. So I think it's a very worthy project, and probably a legacy of the current president of the university.
This project is the first of its kind, with such great scale and magnitude. SiningSaysay Philippine History and Art is a grand project and program that will forever be a venue for engaging the public in a continuous discourse in the important times of our history. SiningSaysay is a term that comes from sining, art, and kasaysayan, history. It captures the spirit of history art, which takes its roots from the grand manner painting, which has a long tradition in the University of the Philippines. Through its strong College of Fine Arts, the grand manner painting, or history art, today will be echoed with a more contemporary view of telling the narrative of our nation through the polyphonic history, with the different voices of top Filipino artists from the University of the Philippines, speaking through the visual images that they create. Each artist captures the beat of our proud and brave Filipino nation in grand scale 6 feet by 12 feet canvases. Today, in contemporary times, we see the importance of public art, which is really public discourse. This happens when we claim public spaces. We contribute to our people's pride and help build a sense of nationhood. Dinadala natin malapit sa mga tao, sa publiko, para sila mismo ay makibahagi sa pagpapatibay, pagbibigay ng kahulugan, at pagpapayabong sa kwento ng ating bayan. Dito rin mararamdaman ng mga manonood at mga sasali sa proseso na tinatawag nating public discourse. Ang mga makikita nilang visual text or visual images na bumubuo ng sining, these are large, impressive paintings, ay mga mangingiliti at magpapabukas ng kaisipan ng mga makakadalo sa eksperyensyang eksibisyon. Ito ay mararamdaman nila na malaking kabahagi sila sa pagpapainog ng ating kasaysayan. Kaya napaka-importante ng partisipasyon ng mga distinguished featured artist historians natin. Maraming taon ang ginugol para mabuo ang project na ito. Kaya kasama ng exhibition, ang video documentary na ito na halos 5 taong ginagawa. Napakahalaga na maipamahagi natin din ang prosesong pinagdaanan ng SiningSaysay. The exhibit itself features this documentary covering the process from conceptualization, planning, curatorship, program team's vision, individual artist's view, and process of creating the artworks, up to the mounting of the large artworks of SiningSaysay, history in art. This will be presented continuously in the exhibition area. SiningSaysay, Philippine History in Art, is situated in the newly constructed J. Amado Araneta Gallery, strengthening and enhancing the Araneta Center Complex as being a cultural hub. Maaari po nating sabihin na kung saan nandoon ang SiningSaysay, Philippine History and Art, ito ay magiging cultural venue sa patuloy na public discourse ukol sa kasaysayan ng ating minamahal na bansa.
Well, I was curious about prehistoric time because there are so few recordings, and I'm the kind of person who love mystery, who like to research, and instead of doing things that had been done before by other artists, like recording recent history or just easy to research subject matter, and so I was excited to start this project for that reason of searching prehistoric material. I remember actually of the Angono petrograph, which was actually discovered by the late national artist for painting, Botong Francisco, who also happened to be my idol in painting. So I went to Angono, looked for some young artist friends there, who called me Tatay. So I was brought to the Angono preservation of this petrograph painting. I cannot call this a painting because this figures is carved actually on the wall of rock, soft rock in Angono. So I think these people, the prehistoric people, used this place to rest and maybe plan or whatever domestic thing that they do. And I noticed that the figures in the wall looks like it has been done by just one person because of the uniformity of the figures, no? And so this is really a prehistoric. This is done thousands of years ago, before we have what we call the Philippines. So they have actually more than 200 figures on the wall. So I have my camera, I have my sketchbook, I made drawings about it. So doon, I have 2 visits there to document everything, and the result is, of course, this one. I think this will enhance the awareness of our young people, especially young people. Maybe I can envision right now truckloads of elementary pupils in their parang field trip and going there, and the teacher explaining the whole thing, because this SiningSaysay is actually a series of murals. Madaling matututo yung mga bata kasi visual po ito, hindi yung nagbabasa pa sila, lalo na kung ang tagasulat ay malalim masyado ang mga ginagamit na words.
I have divided the canvas into 3 segments, like you will see on the farther left. These are the Stone Age, wherein I have included the petroglyphs. And then you will see a figure there, caveman, with all his utensils. Gumagamit siya ng stone. And then the second part would be, these are some of the rainforests. And then you will see the early Filipinos with their manner of hunting. Okay, you will see baboy damo, and of course I've included the very important manunggol jar. Okay, and then you will see the skull also, and then on the farther right would see the metal age. This time the Filipinos then were already equipped with the improvised metals, okay, and the equipments and tools which they use for hunting. And of course this is a very important part of the work which which I've included. These are burial jars, the maitum burial jars, which I've included in this particular portion of the work. So definitely I've applied most of the techniques that I have done with regards or in relation to my abstract paintings. Like on those, on that part, which I have included the petroglyphs, you will notice that it is heavily textured. So there are a lot of underpaintings and glazes, okay, that go with the whole process. So actually, I was after also the effect of light, which will give hopefully illumination to the work. So you will notice that there are also a lot of scratches or sgraffito, wherein I have also included scratches to create those tonal values, and also to create also that effect of past and distressed effect on the canvas. Since this is prehistoric, so definitely there are not so much article or books that have been done. So I did a lot of research and even interviewed a lot of people and even artists, and a lot of studies, okay, which I use in the work. So I think it's a very a great challenge for me.
Yung mga Ibatans are the people from Batanes. Tapos ito, Ilonggots are there are so many siguro sub-tribes of Ilonggot. That's why baka sila yung pinakamarami dito. This beautiful lady here is of course an Ilocana with another pretty more localized, more tribal version with a tobacco in her mouth. This is still part of the Ilonggots. They are musical, they are everything, they are warriors. And the Tingyans and the Gadangs. These are the Gadangs and the Aita. This is the Aita, and this is, I think, also Gadang. And this is the early Tagalog. Of course, it's a copy of that particular watercolor. Maybe, I don't know the year, maybe 800 or 1200, not sure. Maybe 14. Another tribe here, the small ones. This is the Luzon part. As you can see, these are the Banawe rice terraces, and then it blends to the Visayas region, and these are the pintados. I didn't know that the pintados were Visayans. You see that luminous yellow. This is supposed to be Ghost of the Future. Lapu-Lapu fighting with Magellan. Well, they're typical Visayan fisherman with his house on a stilt. This one is a Mindoro with a Carabao. So as you notice, the northern part is not so. It's almost black and white except for the Tagalogs. We have the Mangyans of Mindoro, and then the Matisaulog of Mindanao, and the Manubo, and of course the Tibuli, and then very interesting dresses of the Bagubo, of course the Tausug. Alam mo, the Tausug, you think that they're just warriors, but look at them. Look at how they dress up. Very rich in sartorial elegance. So this is Badjao. Badjaos are boat people. They live on boats, and of course we have here the Bintas of Mindanao. This is Zamboanga. The tribal formation of the people, of course, had to be. It's a natural evolution of society. So they became tribes.
So when that's granted to me, I immediately went to the UP library
and I had to start out my research through the books that were available. But in the end, I had to invent, or I had to create my own images. And I chose in the end to feature the bangka as my main element, main topic, which is I think more weighty than any other of the theories that I've come upon. So the bangka being the main factor, okay, the main element in the migration theories, because without it, then we wouldn't have had any kind of migration. So we're mainly a boating and seafaring lot, of people, and which was the reason why in my painting, in my composition, the bangka is stretched out almost to the both ends of the canvas. The several breaks in the canvas under the several layers of paint. I tried to embody that feeling of brokenness or fragmentation, and in so doing, and in painting over the breaks in the canvas or in the paint and the images, they sort of stitch them all together. So there's a breaking apart, but we are really all connected. The several layers of paint are painted over torn pieces of paper. In terms of composition, I tried to play around with negative and positive space, and used actually, if you take a close look at the patterns in the background, this is actually the map of the Philippines, slightly skewed or scattered throughout the painting. So, but not so apparent. So, just right.
Sa aking karanasan, para akong bumalik sa aking eskwelahan at muli ako nagbukas ng aking libro at bumalik sa library at gayon din sumangguni sa aking mga professor at magbalik tanaw sa kasaysayan bilang sa ngayon at doon sa nakaraan at kung paano ko ito pagtutugmain kung paano ko ito nakita at paano ko ito nabasa at paano ko ito narinig, yun ang challenge sa akin kung paano ko ito ilalagay lahat sa isang tela o canvas. Naipakita ko ng sabay-sabay ang iba't ibang uri ng kultura na meron ng Pilipinas. Bagamat hindi ko ito maipakita na ganun kakulay sa estilong aking ginagawa, ngunit naipakita ko dito ang objective at ang kakaibahan ng bawat isa sa bawat etniko na meron tayo rito sa Pilipinas. Kakaibahan ito sa libro kung saan chapter by chapter natin sila nakikita at hindi natin sila nakikita na sabay-sabay. Ang kagandahan lamang ng mural na to, nandito na sila lahat para makita natin sa iisang perspektibo. Dalawang uri ng etnikong grupo sa Pilipinas ang aking pinakita sa proyektong ito, sa aking mural. Isa ay ang mga Muslim at isa ay ang mga Ipugaw. Ang mga katutubong Ipugaw, dito ay pinakikita ko ang kanilang relihiyon, ang kanilang mga pananamit, ang kanilang mga kaugalian, kanilang pamumuhay, pamamahay, ang kanilang agrikultura. Samantalang sa mga kapatid nating Muslim, ang aking pinakikita rito, ang kanilang barangay, ang kanilang datu, ang kanilang musika, ang kanilang mga sandata. Working on grace, ma'am, has always been a challenge for every piece of work, especially kung ganito kalaki at ganito karami ang mga elemento nakapaloob, which is too seldom for me to do. Kasi usually I only work on one image per one painting. But this is a big challenge for me, showcasing different use of different elements and different approaches.
Kasi ako, sanay na ako dyan. Ang motive ko nakilala ako, sari manok, mga lines. So ginamit ko yung manok as a symbol of cultural symbol ng Pilipinas yan, ng Mindanao. Doon ko ni-work out ang idea about parang history ng Pilipinas din yan eh. Parang yung ginawa kong sa lahat, parang not only a symbol of history, but cultural symbol of the whole country. Ang Islam was ahead about 100 years. Malaki ang contribution. You have the mosque, and prominent there, the minaret of the mosque, which symbolized the coming of Islam into the country. Doon sa baba, mayroong taong parang nakaupo. Yan ang hindi alam ng mga tao. Parang posture ng Buddhist yan di ba? Many people do not know that we were under the Srivijaya, which was a Buddhist occasion for some time. So, kailangan i-reflect mo din yun. So, yun, nandiyan yan pagdating dito, makita mo, nandiyan na ang mas modern interpretation. Ulo pa rin ng Sarimanok ang nagdadala. And this one is we call the ukir, yung binila design na yan, which is another symbol of Islamic, of the Muslim art. So, diyan sa baba, nakita nyo, that is Mindanao. The map of Mindanao, which is practically the Muslim area. Ayan, may dagat. Pagdating dito, with the coming of the Spaniards, siyempre, Christianity was introduced into the country. And so we have, yan ang symbol ng barko ni Magellan na nang dumating sa Pilipinas. Ano ba yan? Victoria? Whatever it is. Anyway, that is a Spanish period already on that area. And then we have the crease here from above going up to that, which symbolizes the revolution against the Spaniard. From the beginning, we fought the Spaniard. Hindi sila nakapasok technically sa sulok. No. They were not able to build churches there and all kasi sinusunog ng Muslim. Ginigira sila ng tulo, mano-mano. Ayan. Natutuwa din ako, nababasa ko sa dyaryo ngayon that they are going to institute a subject about the Muslims of Mindanao. Nasa dyaryo, ilang araw na yan, nakalagay. So sana, matuloy yun, hindi lang sa publicity. Tuloy talaga nila para magkaroon ng pagkakaintindihan.
The better scene to illustrate the amity that occurred at the time between the West, the Spaniards and the Filipinos would be best depicted by the blood compact between Legazpi and Sikatuna, occurring in Bohol. Within the frame, you will find an allegorical interpretation of Mother Spain in the figure of a royal person with the cherubims holding his sash, symbolic of Spain's authority. In the far distance, you will find a galleon representing the main sea craft that the Spaniards came in. And in the background, you will find on one side the Spanish and the other side the tribesmen or the local folks. On the table, you find a symbol of the military, the conquistadors in the helmet, the Portuguese helmet. And you have the document symbolizing the blood compact. You have the symbol of Islam there, and you have the local flora. And you have conflict in the form of warriors, the Muslim warriors, and you have the Vinta, Moro Vinta, and the Spanish soldiers, and of course the local attire in the region. You have as another symbol of the conflict would be the Moro Kris and other military implements here. In the far distance, another group of galleons and the raising of the cross, symbolic of the Christianization of the Philippines. At the same time, there's also conflict in the form of Lapu-Lapu slaying Magellan. In this area would be mainly the Sanglis. The main figure is that of the local Filipino, Chinese Filipino, in the typical form of the merchant and his Chinese ethnic implements here. We have tea and other culinary implements. And
the monstrance as the allegorical representation of the sun that brings sort of enlightenment.
So, we have to be careful with the perspective, ika nga, at saka yung positioning of the figures. I'm also very particular about anatomy. So, itong mga Pinoy, mga followers of Lapu-Lapu, hinubaran ko parang magkaroon ng konting anatomy. Pero itong mga Spaniards, mga conquistadors, siyempre naka-breastplate sila, steel breastplates, and yung helmet. Nag-research ako sa internet, circumnavigation about Magellan, and then I have 4 video films about the conquistadors. Si Lapu-Lapu, he is the first hero of the Philippines, kaya siya ang nag-refuse ng colonization kasi surrender lahat, nagbow yung mga ibang mga raha, yung mga ibang heads ng mga tribes, nagbow down kay Magellan, except Lapu-Lapu kasi parang hero talaga, ayaw niyang makolonize. Bakit kayo manghimasok dito sa bayan ko sa amin ito, bakit kayo mag-encroach? So, nag-rebelde sila. Si Magellan naman out of hatred, ayaw pala kayong sumuko sige, patitikman nyo ngayon yung rat ng mga canyons namin, mga source namin, mga protektado kami ng metal shields and armors. So, yan, the Battle of Mactan, namatay actually, si Magellan was not killed by Lapu-Lapu. According to Pigafetta, Magellan was killed by Aros. Pinana yata dito, and then pinagtulong-tulungan ng mga natives. Pero out of dramatic naman, kasi art naman ito, pinag-ano ko si Magellan sa Lapu-Lapu. So, Magellan died, and then the Spanish soldiers went back to their ship. But naiwan si Magellan. So, ayan, nung nire-retrieve na yung body of Magellan, wala na, nowhere to be found.
Ang hirap ng research dito kasi isipin mo dito lang sa 1500 Spanish time, saka ang hirap maghanap ng mga damit Isipin mo kung saan pumunta na ako sa Spanish Embassy ba yun para magtingin ng mga libro. Ginalugad ko yung sa Centro Library to, kakaunti lang ang nakita ko. Kaya ang ginawa ko, nag-google pa rin ako. Buti nakakita ko sa mga lumang paintings. Karamihan pala nito makikita mo rin sa mga lumang paintings, yung mga damit. Buti nga, not like yung mga ibang painting na bago, ang daling gumawa kahit 1900. Pero itong 1500, itong pinakamahirap yata Isipin mo, pati tsinelas, pati sombrero, pati scarf, pati sword. Iisa-isahin mo to dahil baka magkamali ka. Madali na yung idea, kundi yung pag-research naman ang mahirap Parang pumasok ka lang sa dimension nila, pero yung kulay, nandoon pareho pa rin. Parang yung kahit yung mga word na nostalgic, pag tiningnan mo yon, isipin mo lang sa utak mo, maalala mo yung nakaraan, halos yung makulay na ito, makikita mo rin to pag pumasok ka sa ganung dimension.
I wanted to do this because of also to give honor to my ancestors who really endured a lot of hardship during their time here before us. I found out that the Chinese brought in some agriculture tools way back, so like the araro. And then I also found out some people who also have Chinese blood, like Lorenzo Ruiz and Cardinal Sin, Justice Tihanki, Cory Aquino. This is a representation of one of the early merchants selling porcelain. And then, of course, also Jose Rizal has Chinese blood, and Mother Ignacia. And he's also a general who joined during the Japanese War. And so this is also a representation of Chinese costumes and paraphernalia. President Osmeña, as you see, is reading a newsletter of the Kaisa Foundation entitled Tulay. So it's about RP-China bilateral ties. And then this part, this is Ang Kyu Kok, our national artist. And then Aguinaldo. And this is Pedro Paterno. And these are representations of Chinese merchants selling silk. I think in general we all know that the Chinese are always at the background, but in actuality, their importance is can be seen in the agriculture part, in the commercial part, of course, and then in culinary, like the food we eat, a lot has been influenced by Chinese. So I have a siopao over there with the boy, actually. That's why I wanted to put all of them in just like a group picture, because it's hard to really just put just one part of history. It's from the beginning up to the present, there always the Chinese is there.
We've learned a lot of things, how to compose, how to tell a story. And actually, it actually helped us dun sa mga bagong works namin ngayon, mga present works namin. Kaya parang we're so proud and very thankful na nasama kami dito. Medyo naka-open ng minds namin itong project na to. On the upper left, those are the parang mga shamans. Yung mga people from the mountains, sila yung nag-encourage sa mga people to revolt. Iga-guide daw sila ng nature, kaya wag sila mag-alala. These are the mga indigenous people, yung mga nauna talaga sa lahat. And mga pintados, gumburza. So, I overlapped yung mga flags ng mga revolutionary flags. Like, kunyari itong K tsaka bungo. Parang nilagay ko na nga actually sa head Si Gabriela Silang. So, yung transition ng from the mountains to ito na, yung medyo more on the political side na. So, yung La Solidaridad, sila Jose Rizal, they were in Europe at the time. So, gumagawa sila ng propaganda. They were handing off mga pamphlets and newspapers. Si Emilio Aguinaldo, nilagay ko na si Juan Luna. Yung brother niya, si Antonio Luna, also helped them sila Jose Rizal to write the La Solidaridad. Tapos, yan, yung mga lumalaban dito with all their pride. And Noli Me Tangere and El Fulibisterismo. Under that, sila Bonifacio na yan, doing the Blood Compact. And pagpunit ng sedula, actually yan, sakto, yung this was the flag that they used while they were doing yung pagpunit ng sedula. Tapos doon ko na, that's when yung mga, para sa akin lang, yung parang archipelago, yung Philippines na nagbubuo na sila. Parang, di ba, yung idealism ng freedom, di ba, na ina-achieve nila, ina-attain nila. The composition of yung red nga, which symbolizes yung revolution. Parang down, syempre nagsistart pa lang, tapos up na, medyo yun dyan na sila Jose Rizal. Tapos down because ayun na yung parang papunta na sa freedom Parang yung red na naglaylo na yung red banda sa huli because yun na, papunta na sa Philippine independence na
My piece is about the Declaration of Philippine Independence. So of course, the upper right portion is very iconic for me because the first thought that went to my mind when they said about that was the 5 pesos. So that's it. This is the Aguinaldo scene because I wanted to do something na hindi naman na everything's literal, para there's a contrast. So it's kind of like a almost cartoon, pero it's a design. So parang may contrast siya sa realism, and then, yan. So this is the centerpiece, the Declaration. Of course, the flag, it was first unveiled during that by the Aguinaldo. He's the superstar of the painting. So that's why he's the one who's glowing, my centerpiece. So this one, the independence was proclaimed in Cavite, Cavite. That's why there's the flag. And this was the first time na na-play the national anthem by the marching band. So that's the national anthem, the notes. And this was the flag before this one. That's why I included that. And I placed the quote, a very beautiful quote by Aguinaldo, in which he said, "We may lose hope in winning this battle for freedom because of inadequate force in terms of weapon, but one thing is never lost, our dream to die for the cause of true independence." So that's actually the whole essence of this painting. So the Pact of Biak na Bato, everything started from there. The first headquarters of Aguinaldo. This is the cave. I did impasto, so you could see the difference of the rocks. And then I placed Pedro Paterno, siya yung nag-bridge. Because Aguinaldo didn't want to be present during the signing of the pact because baka he might get arrested. So Pedro Paterno was the one who did. Who represented the Filipino side in the pact. And these are the some of the rebel leaders, the leaders of the rebellion with Aguinaldo who signed the pact, and it was signed in San Miguel, Bulacan. The majority of the painting I did in a la prima. Of course, the brush, but the cave, I wanted it to be really gritty, so I used the palette knife. There's no brushwork there, except for the flag. There had to be a lot of elements involved, and they were very specific. So, it kind of made me evolve as an artist.
I'd like to talk about this particular era of Philippine history, which I believe is the most significant in our history, because this is where all the main protagonists for our struggle for independence took place. From the early rebellions, minor rebellions, and until the martyrdom of the three priests, Gombursa, or Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. In Rizal's life, he grew up with that particular anger in his heart. So when he became a young man, he tried to influence the Spanish government in the Philippines to make reforms or changes. So they went abroad, they went to Spain, so they formed the propaganda movement. And they tried to publish a newspaper called the La Solidaridad, which was first edited by Graciano Lopez Jaina, and then after which Plaridel or Marcelo del Pilar. But of course, Rizal was the leader of the group. Rizal wrote two novels, which is the No Le Tangere and El Filibusterismo. Yeah, these two books became also the cause for Rizal's ultimate martyrdom. Rizal's martyrdom became a turning point in another young man, and his name was Andres Bonifacio. So what he did was he formed a secret society which he called Katipunan, with the ultimate intention of doing an armed rebellion against Spain. There was this old woman. He is actually the most important heroine of that era. What she did, she opened her house and make it a virtual hospital to those who were wounded in the battle. So you can see Tandang Sora or Melchora Aquino nursing the wounded Katipuneros here in the darkness of the night.
I chose women empowerment. It is a thematic painting, and I thought it very important to add to the discourse of women's efforts and initiatives, their participation and leadership in the development of our country, and the struggles and fight for independence and quest for freedom and better quality of life for the Filipino people. As we were struggling through time to attain our sovereignty as a people, there was a parallel movement on the part of Filipino women to fight for their rights and recognition to have equal opportunities and treatment in Philippine society. Filipino women have always been victims of violence, stereotyping, gender bias perpetuated by a very strong patriarchal society. Dito po, ang kababaihan ng indigenous people, yan, nandyan po sila. Iyan po yung mga Ifugao, Kalinga, Kadang, Manobo, Tiboli, Blaan. Sila po yung nagre-represent ng marami pang ibang ethnic groups na nagpatuloy na ginawa ang sining ng weaving of fabrics, baskets, showing their music, and they have succeeded in continuing their art as part of their everyday life. Hindi sila nagpasakop sa dayuhang kultura. Nandito rin po yung ating mga women generals na nakipaglaban sa mga dayuhan na mananakop para sa ating kalayaan. Si Agueda Kahabagan, Trinidad Tecson, Teresa Magbanwa, Gabriela Silang, Tandang Sora. Women of Malolos naman nandito po sa banda rito. Sila naman ay nakipaglaban para sa karapatang makapag-aral noong panahon ng mga Espanyol. Nandyan rin yung nananahi ng ating watawat, si Marcela Agoncillo, at ang kanyang batang anak. Nandyan din po ang napakaraming aktivistang mga kababaihan na lumaban sa rehimen diktatura ni Marcos. Nandyan din ang mga imahen ng photojournalists, ng manunulat, teacher, at mag-aaral na kontemporaryo. Ang visual motif na ginamit ko ay makikita ninyo yung woven fabrics. It moves across the whole canvas. So, parang tagni-tagni siya dahil yan ang parang tapestry. Mga naratibo, kwento ng mga kababaihan. Nandito rin po, kasama po niyan, yung mga listahan po ng mga organizations na napakadami po nila. Napakagaling ng mga kababaihang mag-organize. They have tremendous impact in the women's movement and the thickening of the feminist discourse in our country.
Talagang challenge siya kasi mahirap yung maghanap lang ng images as basta mo na isasalpak sa Well, may advantages din ngayon kasi since may mga computer na tayo, so madaling i-edit na yung mga images, madali nang i-simulate yung mga colors, yung mostly are black and white yung mga nakukuha ko, mga old photos. So ngayon medyo nalalaro mo na yung mga kulay na. So here, yung upper left is the Barusuwain Church, yung Malolos Constitution, here is yung parang dito si Aguinaldo and yung mga subordinates niya. And capture of Aguinaldo in Palanan, Isabela. Tapos, a news clipping of Aguinaldo and yung sa Spain, yung Spanish-American War. Here's the Battle of Manila Bay. So here, si William Grayson, Private William Grayson, who fired the first shot at San Juan, who started the Phil-American War. Here is General Goyo del Pilar. is a battle of Tirad Pass. Under him is the assassination of General Antonio Luna. And here is the parang part of the Battle of Manila Bay. Parang general ka, ang linis-linis mo. Pero ang dami pa rin palang dapat, parang tinuruturuan tayo na maging critical thinker na marami pang dapat halukayin. Kaya si Goyo del Pilar, kaya siya, well, nakakatawa, no? Kasi yung nasa kabayo siya pa raw yung first casualty nung panahong yun. So, mapapaisip ka yung mga nababasa mo noon, parang hindi lahat yun totoo eh. So, very, very interesting.
Ito pong aking obra ay tungkol po kay Macario Sakay. At ito po ay binubuo ng mga general na kanya pong nakasama sa himagsikan. At sa parte po dito ay makikita po ang kanyang mga grupo. Kasama po ang mga general niya na nasa likuran. At si Apolinario Mabini, at si Ricarte. At ito po ay portion po naman ito. Ito po yung Treaty of Paris. Dito po sa bandang likuran ko, ito po yung portion na yung kanya pong paghahatol sa kanya ng bitay sa pamamagitan ng paghang po. At sa ibaba po niya ay ito po ay mga law na ipinataw po sa kanya na kanya pong na violate daw po ng mga panahon na yon. So mostly po yung binubuo po nitong ay simple lamang pong buhay na paglalarawan ko kay Sakay. Doon lamang po sa mga simpleng pamamahagi niya po ng kanyang buhay sa Katipunan. At gusto ko pakita rin po rito na ang himagsikan ay hindi po binubuo lamang ng puro labanan, kundi ang siguro ang magandang mukha ni Sakay na lang na malumanay, ang isang magpapatunay na ang himagsikan ay isang laban ng kabutihan din at calm, yung katahimikan. Sa portion naman po nitong mga flags na nasa taas ay pinili ko po ang ganitong kulay na monochromatic or sepia para po magkaroon din siya ng relation na tone dito po sa kabuuan mismo ng obra. At naisip ko rin na hindi ko kailangan na gawing makulay o puro pula. Bagamat sanay po tayo dun sa mga mapupulang flags po ng Katipunan. So pinili ko siyang ganito para minsan masarap malambot tignan at hindi nakaka-distract sa kabuuan po ng mga figura ang kulay bawat isa. So ito lang po ang aking nabuong mga flags hanggang sa likuran po dito sa portion na to. At palagay ko po ito pumupuno na dun sa representasyon po ng Katipunan flags.
Challenge sa akin talagang hindi ko maisip kung paano umpisahan. Kasi nung pinagawa kami ng boseto, although maliit, nandun din. Nung inilalakihan ko na, medyo mahirap. Although sanay ako sa billboard, yung maliliit na design, lalagay namin sa wall, doon ako sanay. Ito, maraming situation na ilalabas. Ganun ang mural talaga eh. Hindi kagaya ng billboard, isang scenery lang makuha na eh. Yung mga letters na yun, ang means of communication natin nung araw eh. Wala na tayong iba kundi magbigay ng leaflet from the air. Kanya meron tayo noon. At saka yung mga buildings na yan, talagang kinonstruct din yan para sa Pilipinas ng US. Itong banda rito ay sa tulong din sigurado ng US na tinuruan ng Pilipino mag-plant ng sugarcane. Ito yung pinakikita na rito ay yung harvesting ng sugarcane. At the same time, sa mga wheels na dinadala yung mga harvested papunta sa refinery. Ito is right of suffrage ng women. Dati wala tayo niyan eh, kaya nagkaroon tayo niyan. Si Quezon, si Rojas, At saka itong representative ng US, may pinirmahan silang law para sa atin eh. Itong ating main feature, isang young lady na hawak ng dalawa, na nagre-represent din sa US and the Philippines. Siguro nag-tie up sila. Yung ibon naman, nagsisimbolize ng we are free. No, at the same time, yung eagle, which is, yung eagle naman sa US yun. Dito, ang nagkamahawak ng Supreme Court, hindi ako nagkakamali, doon Victoria. Doon may graduate. Ang unang teacher natin, ang teacher nila ay galing din sa Amerika na tinuturuan yung mga young ones. Dito sa banda rito, yung kung makikita niyo, magtataka kayo bakit ganito eh. Pero itong first refrigerator na nanggaling sa US. Dito sa banda rito, ang Cannon Road, medyo zigzag, at saka yung mga graduates, yung post office, together with the big ship na nag-ship ng mga teachers din yan eh. At saka ng mga nurses dinala rin sa Pilipinas.
I researched intensively for 3 months yung mga portraits nila, mga materials. I watch Pearl Harbor. I do studies in computer. Tapos pa-approve hanggang sa magtugma yung approved studies. And the final is the rendition through boceto and by enlarging it. Nahirapan akong mag-research, so bumili akong laruan. So I bought a toy at a hobby shop. Ito yung Japanese Zero. I painted orange para madali kong makita yung mga details. And then ginawa ko na siya. So, I need this reference kasi meron siyang mga details ng... So, meron siyang stainless metal platings. So, I needed those details. And various angles, may papakita ko siya para historically accurate in whatever pose I want. And then, 2 mountains, Bataan Peninsula. And this is the Corregidor Island. With the canyons. Here is the Battle of Bataan. Japanese fighting against mix of Filipino and American soldiers. These portraits, si Basilio Valdez, si Carlos Romulo, General Douglas MacArthur, and Sergio Esmeña. Jose Laurel, nandun po siya sa kabila, and General Homa, Masaharu Homa. So, this is the Japanese Zero fighting against the American P-90. So, they have battles here. The Death March is right there. And also the Open City. Kailangan sakto. Kailangan, medyo historically accurate, tapos realistic pa siya. And back up it with details, you come up with a comprehensive piece.
Nung nagpunta ako dun sa Rojas Foundation, dun ako nakapag-research ng marami. Binigyan nila ako ng pictures, video, which is yung video, yun yung mga mostly ginamit ko dito sa painting. So, nung nire-research ko si Rojas, natuwa ko na ito pala yung istorya ni Rojas which is maganda. Itong Central Bank, ito yung pinaka-focus nung sa behind ni Sir Rojas. Kasi ito yung pinakamalaking ginawa niya, which is nung panahon ng gera, walang sira lahat ng mga gamit, ganyan. Nag-open yung bangko para magpahiram ng mga businesses. Kaya ito yung bigas, nagpamigay siya ng mga bigas. Tapos ito yung mga business, yung logging, yung rice. Tapos yung pag-ayos ng mga, ito yung karpintero ng inayos. Tapos ito yung part na to, ito naman yung nagle-lend siya dun sa mga tao. Ito yung bangko. Tapos dito na sa part na to, ito yung nag-outtaking siya with si Manuel Quezon. Tapos itong plug, ito yung pinaka-center ko dahil siya yung panahon niya yung binaba yung plug ng American at itinaas yung plug ng Pilipinas. So kaya siya yung pinaka-highlight nung concept. Kasi yun yung pinakamagandang ginawa niya na binaba niya yung American, tinaas niya yung Pilipinas. Tapos ito yung nag-meet silang dalawa ni Douglas MacArthur. Tapos ito yung sa taas, ito yung mga sinira ng gera. Yan. Tapos ito yung aircrafter na panggera. Kasi ito yung nakipagkasundo siya sa mga Amerikano na tulungan yung bansa natin. Kaya siya tinawag na American Boy. Kaya more on na American kasi yung istorya niya. Pero dito sa hindi ko masyadong pinokos dun sa American para hindi naman masyadong American lahat yung istorya. So ito yung tinataas yung bandera, ito yung mga official na nasa likod. Tapos ito, pinadagdag ng historian na yung sa Meralco. Kasi part din pala si Rojas doon sa pag-build nung sa Meralco. Tapos ito yung part naman na ito yung mga sumurrender ng mga hukbalahap. Sumurrender sa kanya, sinurrender yung mga weapon nila. Tapos ito yung nagpirmahan ng kontrata doon sa American, kaya ito na yung parang base natin. Tapos ito naman yung mga Japanese na in-encourage niyang sumurrender. So ito yung, kaya yung story niya, lahat merong point.
So ang mural na ito ay tumatalakay sa kilusang paggawa sa Pilipinas at mapapansin natin na may mga personalidad at yung mga iba't ibang unyon at federasyon na nakibaka para kung tutusin sa ating kalayaan. At mapapansin natin na naririto si Isabelo de los Reyes na tinaguriang Don Belong, isa siyang masasabi nating pioneer sa unionismo sa paggawa. At naririyan din si Dominador Gomez na isa ring sikat na leader ng manggagawa. Sila Crisanto Evangelista na sila namang nagtayo ng kapisanan ng mga magsasakat manggagawa. At naririyan naman si Amado B. Hernandez ng sentro ng paggawa ng bandang 50s. At nariyan naman si Cabertolalia ng 70s at 80s kasama si Crispin Beltran. At si Narcisa Pagibitan na siya ng mga panahon ng 1930s, sinisimulang maitayo yung mga federasyon. Siya yung kauna-unahang babae na kinulong ng kolonyalistang Amerikano. So, dito naman sa bandang gitna, pinapakita rito yung mga pagkilos ng mga manggagawa. Nung maitayo yung kauna-unahang federasyon, nung early 1900s, at nandito yung Union Obrera Demokrata, hanggang sa ito'y nag-evolve, hanggang sa panahon nila Crispin Beltran, nandito yung kilusang Mayo 1, ng isa sa mga pangunahing unyon na nagtataguyod ng interes sa pang-ekonomiya at politika ng mga manggagawa. So ito yung kasaysayan, patungo dito sa future. Napapansin natin na pinapakita naman dito yung pagmamarcha ng mga manggagawa tungo sa kanilang kinabukasan, yung pagpapanday ng kanilang kinabukasan. At siyempre, makikita natin dito na hindi lang simpleng patungo sa kung anumang lipunan, kundi yung isang modernong lipunan ng tinatahak ng mga manggagawa.
Yung administration ni Magsaysay, Garcia, Macapagal. So, sa Magsaysay, yung background niyan, yung mga achievements na, yung highlights ng mga ibang achievements niya, yun ang mga finiture ko. So, nung time niya, nung po siya, Malacanang was open to the people. So, ayun ang inano ko yung Malacanang Palace, tapos people around Magsaysay. Tapos yung portion na to, sinay niya ituloy yung creation ng SSS. Kaya ayan, SSS, tapos ito yung nagsasign siya. Tapos yung land reform program niya, yung para ma-improve ang ng mga farmers, feature ako ng mga yung farm scene. Ganyan. At saka ito, yung surrender ng mga rebels, si Magsaysay niyan. Tapos yung mga rebels binigyan ng mga farmland sa Mindanao. This is Garcia's administration, yung highlights ng term niya. So, nung time na yon, Filipino first ang policy ng Garcia, no? So, ito yung mga manufacturers, mga shoe manufacturers, different industries, coconut industries. Tapos, nung time niya, ang top export earner is lagging yung timbers. Tapos, yung nung time din niya, ang import ng rice nilimit. Tapos, yung rin noon, yung sa art and culture, rin niya, promote niya yung art and culture, kaya ito yung ko dyan. Ayun, that's it for Garcia's administration. Okay? And this is Macapagal's time. So, nung time ni Macapagal, niya agad yung economic stability. So, finiture ko yung, yung stock exchange, yung mga tenement housing. Tsaka nung time niya, doon na-develop yung Miracle Rice sa Erie. Ito yun. Tapos, rin, yung mga construction ng highways and airports. Independence Day was changed from July 4th to June 12. So, feature ako ng flag, tsaka family.
Actually, a large part of the, yung studies that I had been doing, parang may recollection of pre-martial law days. I was in Manila Times then. Talagang marami akong nare-recall na mga images, mga events. Tapos, nagkaroon lang ako ng konting problema doon sa Actually, I kept a copy of this, yung issue ng yung declaration ng martial law. But I think it was eaten by termites. Then I looked for a copy sa network. I found one who was selling for his copy for 2,000. When I was about to pick up the issue, nag-back out siya. Sabi niya nawala raw. Ewan ko kung totoo yun. Puro mga recollections lang. Ganun. Merong konti mga shots, pero hindi ako masyado nakakalabas noon pagka may mga rally kasi nasa Manila Times nga ako . Tapos, I found out na during that time, nandun din yung, yung movement ng, yung Moro, National Liberation Front, yung mga Jabida Massacre, ganun. Tapos, yung Plaza Miranda bombing was very much into, to the, yung reasons for the declaration of martial law. Tapos, meron din mga, alam ko, meron din mga human rights violations, mga, rape, ganun, disappearances. Tapos, ito yung... Hindi ko naman mapakita graphically yung, yung Plaza Miranda bombing, kaya parang na lang mga symbols na lang Yung mga shrapnels, nag-scatter, ito yung grenade, ganun. Ito, itong... na to, actually, very classic yung yung image na yan during the first quarter storm. Tapos, meron ding movement ng, yung... liberation theology. Kaya ito yung cross representing that. Saka yun, si Imelda. Actually, nagko-cross yata yung yung period na kino-cover ko yung crosses yata before the declaration, tapos after the declaration. Kaya nung after the declaration, nagkaroon naman ng New Society program yung martial law. The true, the good, and the beautiful. The martial law itself, does it reflect my stand? Siyempre, I'm against it. Kasi ang mandate sa akin as an artist is to tell the truth. Parang yan ang talagang pinaka-importante. To tell the truth.
Natuwa ako ng gusto. Kasi ibig ko makita nila na ang Pilipino mayroong magandang artikain na magkaroon ng magandang pagbabago sa ating bansa. Kaya yung dinatalang ko sa Diyos na bigyan pa ako ng kalakasan upang mapaganda ko ang ginagawa kong pinturang ito para makita ng ilang henerasyon ng ating bansa, ang ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Nandito yung atikain ng ating kapwa na magkaroon ng malinis na pagbabago sa ating bansa at nandoon ng namumunong sa ating religion na matulungan ng ating mga sundalo, mga sibilyan na tayo maging maayos sa ating atikain na magkaroon tayo ng magandang Pilipinas sa bundong ito.
Inidagdag po sa akin yung accuracy when it comes to techniques. Mas malalong naging aware ako sa mga technique na ginagamit ko sa pagpipinta. Tapos yung patience po. Yung patience na talagang napakahirap gawin ho nitong project na to dahil hindi ho basta-basta. Kailangan ho talagang maingat sa paglalagay ng mga konsepto. So itong nasa babang ito yung PNR. Ito rin po yung kay Chairman Luis Halandoni, negotiations between the NDF, National Democratic Front, and ito po yung peace talks with Normis Wari of the Muslims. And this one's the creation of Department of Energy. Ito po yung Forest and Environmental Code noong 1991. And Philippines 2000, of course. Expo Filipino. And the signature jump of Ramos, President Ramos. And ito po yung National Hero Cemetery, celebration of the veterans. And then this one's actual taken from the building the Skyway. And of course, the Kalayaan, Kayamanan ng Bayan, 1898 and 1998, Philippine Centennial. Usually, alam ho natin pag sinabing ERAP, ano po siya, para ho sa mahirap. So, in general ko na lang po siya ginawa. So, nandito ho yung, nagsimula ho sa mga bata, usually ng mga tinutulungan niya, mga batang mahihirap, simula sa edukasyon, tsaka sa agriculture, at housing projects. At ito po yung hindi ko makakalimutan na Carabao Law ni ERAP. And of course, the MRT, yung pinag-uusapan ho ngayon.
Actually, it seemed simple at first for me to tackle the topic about Arroyo and Aquino because it is very recent and everything is, in terms of material, is available to me. I actually did not have problems in getting materials online and offline. However, the challenge that I actually encountered here was how would I be able to encapsulate that in a painting that summarizes the whole thing. I start off at the upper left part of the painting with the inauguration of Arroyo during the EDSA People Power 2. And I started that off because I'd like to divide the work from the previous painting which tackled on the presidency of ERAP, the abrupt change of power. But I also tried to show the ERAP here because of the controversial aspect of that People Power 2, meaning it was a very short term for ERAP, and Arroyo came into the scene. I think the major thrust of her presidency was in economic reforms. So the gears here represent how the machinery of our economy developed during her term. OFWs are represented. her attempt to connect through the Roro. Okay, Pacquiao and Peña Florida and Shamsi Sup Sup as being some of the notable Filipinos during the term of Arroyo and going into Aquino's term also. At the bottom part here, there are incidents in our country that challenge the nation. For example, the Ondoy tragedy, when Filipinos were, in Manila were challenged.
Totoo lang, napakalawak na ng ano natin, ng pagkukunan ng mga images na gagawin ko sa project. Andiyan ang internet, kauna-unahan. At saka nagbasa-basa rin ako regarding sa mga national, like for example, national heroes. Actually, marami sila actually. Hindi lang talaga kauna-unahan lang talaga na nabanggit si Jose Rizal as our national hero. Kaya sinama ko na rin si Bonifacio, yun sa dalawang sa far left ng aking painting. Sa totoo lang, hindi naman mahirap actually. At nung pagkabata naman natin, naituro din naman sa atin ang mga pambansang symbols, mga simbolo. At yung iba may mga nabago at yung iba talagang hanggang ngayon yung pa rin ating simbolo. Sa kaliwang bahagi ng aking painting, ito si Jose Rizal, si Bonifacio. Sa baba niya, ang ating pambansang awit. Sa ibabang bahagi naman, ang pambansang prutas, ang mangga. At ang isang prominenteng image ko dito ay ang Barot Saya. Nara, tapos sa aking bandang likuran, ang Bahay Kubo. At ang Anahaw at ang Agila, na isang malaking prominenteng image.
I guess the main challenge here really is you're depicting history with, kasi thematic yun sa akin, no? So, but just the same, mas thematic, it cuts across history also of the country. So, necessarily, it entails a lot of details, in which case you really have to do some research on your own. You have to be constantly conscious of visual devices, no? Which you must employ in your rendering, considering that it has a lot of sections, no? Which you really have to merge into one unified whole. So I guess that's the main challenge, no? I zeroed in on the Christmas celebration. It has a very central position in the canvas. After all, it's one of the longest celebration that we have in the country. No? Filipino celebration is stemmed from, at the beginning, from the simple idolatry, no? Of the natives. That's why it started off with rituals done by the indigenous people in the north. So that's why you have the bulol, no? Of course, I also included the three religious icons that we have. The earliest image of the Virgin Mary, which is the Virgin of Antipolo, the Nazareno, and the Santo Niño. The traditional panagbenga, and then the usual band during town fiestas. And then, of course, the kanyao, cockfighting, or tupada, no? I guess that is present in all parts of the country, no, during town fiestas. At the capital of Manila, we have the Nazareno procession. Of course, dito sa gitna, Moriones, activities during Holy Week, which is the penitencia. This is the Peña Francia devotees on boats, no? Pahiyas in Lokban. And then the Mascara down there. Beside it is the Eid al-Fitr celebration of our Muslim brothers. And then we have the Araneta Coliseum here, which is the usual venue for beauty pageants.